Hello everyone and welcome to Millennial Money. Today we'll be discussing the relentless indoctrination the universities in America constantly push. And we're with Witt, an online creator for PragerU who helps inspire young people throughout the entire world to fight for the values they believe in. Today we are with the best-selling author of the #1 personal finance book of all time, Robert Kiyosaki. Thank you for joining us again, Robert.
Thank you.
And we have an incredible guest, Witt, who creates online content for PragerU to help inspire young people worldwide to fight for their values and what they believe in. Thank you for joining us, Will.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks. And could you give our audience a little bit of your background?
So I grew up in Colorado, actually. Contrary to popular belief, people say I look like a Los Angeles guy, but actually from Colorado. But I grew up there, and I was basically a liberal atheist my entire life. And I started going, most kids go to college and they were raised conservative or Christian and then become liberals with the brainwashing. I actually was the opposite. I went to college and became a conservative. So kind of flipped the whole thing on its head. And so I was an English major in college, which was a totally useless degree. And I was in an intro to sociology class, which was a useless class. And there's my TA in the class. There was a black girl sitting next to me, and she looks at me. We're talking about white privilege at the time. And she says, "You are oppressing this girl because of the color of your skin." And me and this girl kind of look at each other and we're like, I don't know what's going on. This is really awkward for both of us, you know? And so after that, I started getting really involved. I didn't feel like I was oppressing anyone. And this girl didn't feel like she was being oppressed, but this TA at this $50,000 a year university gets to come and tell me I'm oppressing someone. You know, this is how you create a victim culture in America. And so I started getting very involved. I worked with the Republican Party in Colorado, Turning Point USA as well. I worked for them for a few months. And then I ended up making a video on my campus asking women what they thought about the wage gap. And I sent it to PragerU because I love their videos. And they ended up loving the video, giving me a call and saying, "We want to give you a job." So after 2 years of college, dropped out, moved to Los Angeles to do what I do now.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and your background as to why you dropped out I think is crucial for our audience because, you know, we're all millennials and we've seen, especially here at the Rich Dad Company, people come and seek help from us because they're seeing this education system and what they're being forced to believe with the guilt mentality and the victim mentality. So, Robert, what are your thoughts on what's going on in today's school system?
Well, first of all, I love PragerU. Your videos are incredible. Short, to the point, no BS. So I love you guys. You guys are doing a fantastic job of educating. I watch them. I learn. You guys did one on slavery, which just kind of blew me away because it was so simple and to the point, factual, which is what I enjoy. But I am concerned because, you know, the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, my poor dad, is a good man, but he was a Marxist and he didn't know it. He didn't know he had Marxist thoughts. And without real financial education, a person doesn't know the difference between a Marxist, a socialist, Stalinist, Mao, fascist. They don't know the difference of their thoughts. So when I was 16 years old, I was working for free for my rich dad because I was working for free because if he paid me, he said I would think like an employee. So I worked for free, which my Marxist poor dad said, "I'm being oppressed." I said, "No, this is free choice. I like to work," and then Rich Dad would teach me about money, playing Monopoly and working in his office. But then one day, Rich Dad had several hundred employees and they wanted to go on strike. They wanted to go on, become a union. And so the decision was when I was 16 years old, where my fellow workers was working, I was working for free, so I wasn't one of them, were they going to strike and become unionized. So what I did, Rich Dad said, "Would you mind working during the strike?" So I basically crossed the line. This is in Hilo, Hawaii. There was no line. I just went to work and I worked for free for a couple of days. And I went home and then I found out my poor dad was so angry at me, he called me a scab. He says, "You crossed the line." And I went, "No, I helped out a friend in need. You know, Rich Dad, he's helping me learn. This is part of my real life education, labor relations." But then I didn't realize why my dad was so angry at me. But later on, when I went to military school, so I was not indoctrinated like you guys are today. So at military school, I had to read the Communist Manifesto. I had to read Mein Kampf and Mao's little book. I read Lenin. And so today I see what you guys are calling indoctrination. It's everywhere. And I didn't realize this, but it was Marx who said, workers of the world unite. That's labor unions. That was my poor dad. He was head of the HSTA, Hawaii State Teachers Association. And today they're the HFT, the AFT, American Federation of Teachers. They're the most powerful bloc. They run, they have puppets like Biden and Kamala on strings, as well as Nancy Pelosi. But it's teachers' unions run America. So it fits that you would be against it, or you would understand why schools are now, they're just puppets teaching Marxism, Leninism, and fascism in schools. But they don't know it. They're like my poor dad, who have no financial education. They're going to be poor all their lives because what they actually teach, what school teachers teach kids is how to be poor, how to be a little puppet, jump up and down, do as you're told, do as they tell you to do, wear your mask, take the vaccine. They're just training little puppets. So I feel for your generation. So I'm very proud of Prager University, and any way I can support, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. It's definitely true, man. I mean, you go to any university. I've said this a million times. If you want to fix America, what we should do is, instead of putting our money towards politicians, is put our money toward bulldozers and bulldoze down all of the universities in this country. And we would get a lot of things done, because it's like the next generation of students. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what you say, or if we have a conservative president or Republican news media. None of that matters if the next generation is just going through the education system and being indoctrinated again. It means that every single year, you and I have to start over influencing people, because they continue to be brainwashed. And it's like, I don't want to have to keep doing everything over and talking to people every day. It's like, I want people to be able to think for themselves. Talking about Marx, one other thing that Marx said is religion is the opium of the masses. I am now a very strong Christian. I was baptized about 4 months ago, and that was one of the most amazing things that's happened to me. And those kind of values are no longer present in America. The values of Christian values, the American values that this country is founded on, and then even, fiscal conservative values when it comes to finances. So yeah, this next generation, I'm worried for them, and we need to change the education system fast.
It almost makes you wonder if all this is done intentionally to manipulate and maintain control, right? Because now, more than ever, we see students and younger people with the highest amount of psychological problems, low self-esteem, high suicide rates, low unemployment. And so it's kind of fearful. And I think that's why we, as a whole, PragerU and Rich Dad, play such an important role to help guide this lost generation.
I'll give you a quote. It was Lenin who said, if you want to destroy capitalism, debauch the currency. In other words, print money. And so this year in 2021, I think Biden, the commie, is going to print about $7 trillion. And it was Marx who said, so Lenin said debauch the currency, and it was, Lenin said that, and Marx said, you want to destroy capitalism, impose taxes. So Biden is going to raise taxes. But the people driving that are the teachers' unions. So that's why, I support what PragerU is doing, because financial education is not just about money, it's about economic philosophy. So most school teachers are hardcore Marxists, but don't know it. When they support taxes, they're supporting Marx. When they support printing money to give money to poor people, they're supporting Lenin. But they don't know it. They're good people, like my family, but they're financially ignorant. That's the problem.
That's exactly right. I mean, you look at the bigger picture. I mean, we look at like how millennials are doing in this country right now. I mean, millennials own 3% of the nation's wealth, only 3% of the nation's wealth right now. At the same age, baby boomers own 21% of the wealth. They're not buying homes at the same rate. They're staying at their parents' house. They're not getting married. I mean, there are so many problems with millennials when it comes to their finances, getting jobs, and even just having stable lives that I am incredibly worried for what happens when the baby boomers are gone and it's left to millennials to run this country for ourselves. I really think that Russia and China are going to be eating our lunch when it comes to all of that.
Well,
Yeah.
if I could give you some more financial stats, when I, in 1980, the debt to GDP, this is real financial education, debt to GDP was 30%. So that meant if you made $100,000 America, then 30% went to pay off the debt. Today, for the millennials, it's now 126% debt to GDP. America is technically bankrupt. The millennials are bankrupt with student loan debt, and they keep printing more money, raising taxes, which makes it almost impossible for you guys to get ahead. I mean, you guys are being screwed by your own government, and especially your school teachers, who are like my poor dad. They're good people, but they've never studied economic philosophy. So economic Marxism is like Christianity or Buddhism and all that. They're just philosophies. So it's between your left ear and your right ear. That's all it is. So if you like the idea of printing money and giving it to poor people, which they don't do, the money goes to school teachers, you're a Marxist. If you like printing money, you're Lenin. So, but they don't know that. They don't know that. That's the problem.
And based off of this like socialist belief, right? In the last two major elections, we saw a topic that was heavily pushing for free education and that the rich should pay for our college and student loan debt and all this. What are your thoughts on this, and how could this potentially destroy us?
Well, I went to military school. I never did well. I flunked out of school because I can't write, and now I write books. But I still study. You know, this here is a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island, written by my friend G. Edward Griffin. If you want to understand why you guys are being screwed, read this book here. It's about the Federal Reserve Bank, which was formed in 1913. But that was the same year that the 16th Amendment was passed, which allowed taxation. So we were going for communist control of the central bank, you know, central planning, central bank, and then taxation, 16th Amendment. It started back then. And then I studied this book here. It's called The Grunch of Giants, written by Buckminster Fuller. I do study. And if your generation wants to get ahead, you've really got to study. But don't study the garbage they're teaching you in school. Because this is what happened here. So this here is a silver dollar. Okay. It's worth about $30 today if you can find one. They're out. And this here is a gold eagle. It's worth about $2,000. And this here is called the Zimbabwe dollar. It's $10 million. So what's going to happen in the near future? You millennials are so stupid, you'd rather take $10 million than get a gold coin, a silver coin, or Bitcoin or Ethereum. Because your school teachers are so effing stupid, they think this is important. This is $10 million. Oh, I'm going to get a pay raise. I'll get $10 million. But what it does, it destroys, it makes the gold more valuable, silver more valuable, and Bitcoin more valuable. Why don't they teach you that? Because the teachers would rather have this piece of trash.
I think it's easier for the teachers that way as well. I think it's hard to teach kids critical thinking and how to actually live in the world. I mean, I went through high school and then did 2 years of college. And when I got out, I felt totally unprepared for the real world. I didn't know how to do taxes. I didn't know how to really do anything that came to finances, buy a house, like none of that stuff. That should be taught first and foremost in school, teaching kids how to get out of school and actually live in the real world, but it's not. They don't teach those kind of skills. In terms of free college, I mean, free college is such a worthless idea. If I wanted to be, let's say, a septic tank cleaner, okay, like I want to go clean big poop tanks, and I make $150,000 a year, and it doesn't require a college education. and I chose to do that, why do then I have to give my tax dollars to pay for someone's college education, going to get a degree in gender studies or sociology, something that has nothing to do with me? Why am I paying for these people? Right? I chose this other life. If they want to choose that life, good for them. Go pay for it yourself. I don't see why I am entitled, why you are entitled at all to my money.
And I think that's exactly what we're seeing. That's a huge issue. We're being taught things that are useless, like you mentioned, that don't prepare us for the real world, which explains why there's so many people navigating, so many millennials navigating this world with this immense amount of student loan debt and nothing to provide for their future. And we wonder why we're in the situation where we are today. And frankly, it's scary that they're pushing this narrative, and yet these are the people who are going to be voting to have another repetition of what's going on. And we've seen it happen in Cuba, Venezuela, Peru. So it's quite frightening.
For young people, I think your financial education is crucial, but it begins with your economic philosophy. Are you a Marxist? Are you a Leninist? Are you a Maoist? Or are you a fascist like Hitler? I would say most people are fascists like Hitler. Like Hitler wanted to take our guns away. So that's where Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden are. I'm not Republican or Democrat, but just leave me alone. Don't take my freedoms away. That's my concern. And you got to teach kids about money, but of course they never will, because the teachers don't know crap about money themselves.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I know a lot of school teachers. Now, I love my sister, but she's an elementary school teacher. I wish I could teach her more about money too. So
Yeah. And frankly, talking about how our freedoms are being taken away from us and everything that's founded within America and what's used to protect us and our beliefs, we've also seen a huge issue with free speech within social media and the role it's played in this indoctrination. And Robert, you've mentioned several times how we've been censored, videos have been taken down, tweets have been taken down, and within my past year of working here, I've had to appeal more strikes than the 4 years that I've worked here. So we've seen that pretty prevalent this year. And what is your suggestion to these millennials that are facing this social media narrative, and how can they fight against it?
I think that social media giants are authoritarian. They want to control us. They want to say that they're a public platform open to all, and then go around and consider themselves a publishing tool, saying that they have editorial control. They want to have their cake and eat it too. And the thing is, they're allowed to get away with this, just like you were talking about with the puppets and the fascists and the people in Congress that we have, and the people in the executive branch as well. They will do nothing about this because they're all being paid off. I mean, Google is the biggest lobbying organization in the world. They pay both Republicans and Democrats off to basically get their way and do whatever it is that they want to do, right? But I think it takes a lot of public lawsuits and things. I mean, PragerU, we're suing YouTube right now for restricting our videos. A lot of other people are filing class action lawsuits against Facebook and other things. I mean, this is what you have to do. And if you're a millennial out there and you're getting censored, you need to push it out to everyone you know. Tell everyone you're getting censored. Like people, it's one thing, like I tell this story when I was in college, when I was still like kind of waverly about my political leanings, what I was going to do with my life. And some random girl just came up to me and she had a Trump pin on her backpack. And she said, who are you voting for president? This is in 2016. I was like, I don't really know yet. And she was like, oh, I'm voting for Trump. I was like, why are you doing that? And then we kind of talked about it. And then I went and researched more and I got more into it. And I was like, wow, this is what's wrong with our country. And it was like, because one girl came up and talked to me about politics and Trump, that I was able to say, wow, this is what I want to do with my life. Now I'm here, giving speeches and writing a book and all these different things because one girl decided to have a conversation with me. So people always think that it's like, oh, you're one person. What can you actually do? The people who you talk to about stuff, you have no idea how that can affect them and also how it can affect you. Chain reaction conversations about all of the things on social media are so incredibly important. Even if you only have one follower on your entire Instagram page, put out your information that you want to, have the conversations with as many people as you can, because you have no idea who those conversations will actually affect and reach.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's something we see here a lot at Rich Dad. I mean, Robert does not stop, even if they threaten to deplatform us, give us strikes, anything. We spread the voice, and it's quite frightening because, I mean, we've released things about COVID, about printing of money and what that does and inflation, and it gets taken down, and you start to wonder what's so wrong about people hearing like an alternative narrative than what they're hearing and being fed in the media. So clearly that should be enough to wake us up. And frankly, I don't see enough millennials waking up. And so, Will, what are your final words for someone who's considering whether or not to go to college?
It really depends. I dropped out of college and I have a lot of passion and a lot of skill that I don't think a lot of other people have. I'm not trying to sound too vain, but when I saw what was going on in this country, what was going on in my school, I just had this fire in me that not everyone has. So if you don't have that fire in you, this might not work out for you. It might be a good idea for you to go to college and get a skill. But the main thing that you need to be doing is getting a skill. I mean, if you don't have any skills and you're just going to college, like I know pretty much 95% of the people who went to college had no passion, no idea what they're doing. They went to college because they wanted to party and drink and just got out of school still having no idea what they wanted to do. And now they're $200,000 in debt. So I'd say the best thing you can do if you're considering not going to college like I did, find yourself a skill, something that you're good at, something, a small business that you can create, an idea, anything that will set you apart in a market that's already so saturated with so many other things. Build yourself up and make it so that you are the most desirable candidate in any sort of thing you do.
Mm-hmm. And that's something you always say, Robert, that the average person can't do what we teach. And I think it is, many people say, oh, you know, the most important people in the world and the most wealthy people in the world didn't go to college. But that has nothing to do with it. Like you said, it's ambition, it's passion. And I don't think, especially our generation, I don't think a lot of people have that.
Yeah.
More than ambition and passion, it's also skills too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it takes like people think that they can just be a conservative, like using my job as an example, they think they can be like a political commentator and just rewatch Ben Shapiro videos every day and say the things that he says on some YouTube clip, and they're now a political commentator. It's like, it doesn't work like that. You have to read, you have to watch videos, you have to talk to people, put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Like, this is an every single day thing where you are checking the news and reading new things so that you're up to date with everything. And that takes skill and it takes hard work. So yes, the passion can be there, but if you also don't have the dedication and time to put into it, it also means nothing. So it's a lot of different factors to really make it as someone, and not just like make it, but really make it as someone who doesn't go to college and does something significant and magnificent with their life.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for all the knowledge you've given us, for shedding light on this important topic for all millennials. And I want to thank you both for joining us. I hope to have another Millennial Money with both of you soon. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this special Millennial Money. We hope to see you soon, and let's fight for our values, what we believe in, and create our own destination.
And support Prager University.
And support
Dennis
PragerU
Prager
University.
is doing great. Your videos are fantastic. I mean, I'm really impressed with them.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Thank you. We'll be dropping the link for PragerU below so you can donate and help support this cause. Thanks, Will Witt, for joining us on this Millennial Money. And to help support PragerU, click the link in the description below. And keep fighting for what you believe in.